that area?
Well, Jody Evans is the ex-wife of a multimillionaire from Los Angeles, and apparently they're still very close. In fact, they live together. They have a son together, and the three of them have begun an effort to do what we call bundling in the political world, which means to donate the legally allowable $2,300 to the Obama for President campaign. Her son, who lists his occupation as an unemployed student, took part in this effort. I don't know about you, but most unemployed students don't have $2,300 to donate to presidential candidates. But then they went to all of their Hollywood friends and put together lots and lots of money, and eventually turned over between $50,000 and $100,000.
Wow.
We know for certain it's $50,000, and we're getting more indications that it's closer to $100,000 to possibly even as high as $150,000. So there is a very definite political connection between Mr. Obama and the presidential campaign and this hard left, anti-American, blame America first organization. And for anybody to deny that connection is simply living in a land of denial, because the records are right out there according to the Federal Election Commission.
Well, absolutely. And even from the lips of Jody Evans, she gave some of that in our interview that I had. She admitted to at least donating to Barack Obama after telling me she didn't get involved in politics, that she was just an anti-war activist.
That's what I keep saying, is that Code Pink publicly goes out and says, we're just a bunch of ladies out here, harmless little old ladies, that they're a feminist peace group. But they are not. They have a political agenda, and it often involves encouraging teenagers into violent acts, which is what we witnessed firsthand when we were at the Berkeley Marine Recruiting Center. We brought 600 patriotic, flag-carrying American men and women to confront Code Pink and to let them know they weren't going to get away with their shenanigans. They weren't going to harass and attack people who were going into the Marine Recruiting Center, as they have done repeatedly. And during that very memorable February afternoon, which actually began at 6 o'clock in the morning and ended well after midnight, these individuals were encouraging, going inside Berkeley High School, which is right across the street from City Hall, and encouraging the teenagers to come out, cut school, put bandanas on their faces, and get engaged with hitting little old ladies with flags and placards supporting our troops with their skateboards, and they started engaging in pushing and shoving, and it was just a shocking afternoon, even by Berkeley standards.
Oh, that's amazing. The issue I have, and I talked with Jody about this in our interview, is I'm a big free speech guy. What I'm exercising here on the radio, our conversation, we're getting out our ideas and opinions, and they may not always be, they may be contrary to the government at times. I think people have the right to have a contrary opinion to the president and so forth. But what I see here with Code Pink is an overt act to side with the enemy in a time of war, to undermine our ability to defend ourselves by attacking, as Jody Evans would say, the pillars of the war effort in our American fighting men and women. And I can't, with all leniency and giving everyone the benefit of the doubt, I cannot see how this is anything but treasonous acts.
There is no question in my mind that these are treasonous acts. And I don't understand for the life of me why Jody and Susan Medea Benjamin and some of the other leadership people at Code Pink haven't been prosecuted, because we know for a fact that the organization traveled to Iraq to give $600,000 in aid to what they call the other side. In other words, the families of the terrorists who murdered our troops in Fallujah. It is just appalling to me. And in fact, my organization went directly to the U.S. Attorney's Office and made a complaint about Code Pink and demanded an investigation. And as far as I know, we have received word back from the U.S. Attorney's Office that they have received our information. I do not know whether they have actually begun an investigation or not, but they were very, very interested in all the material that we put together, which is available at moveamericaforward.com, that is called the Sedition Report, documenting the concerted pattern of attacks on military recruiting stations across the country. And as you say, they are trying to attack the very pillars of the support for our troops, which is federal offices and federal buildings that allow for the recruitment of our American population.
Absolutely. And if we go back and look at history and we look at the laws that we have had during times of war for treasonous acts, these individuals would have been dealt with swiftly. And it's a weak spot that we have right now. I don't know whether it's because Code Pink goes under this veil of the silly and so forth, that they are able to dupe people into thinking that they're just crazy wacko people and that they're not really harmful. But if you look at the fruits, and this is again where the research that you've done and others have done as well, pulling up this data of what these people have done, it shows that they are not harmless, that they are actually doing many things that are detrimental to the war effort, detrimental to our country, and detrimental to our future. They're a group that really needs to be dealt with. And folks here in Radioland, if you haven't, I want to show you a couple of websites. www.melaniemorgan.com is a wonderful resource to see things, activities, and things that Melanie Morgan has going on, as well as www.moveamericaforward. This is really a pro-troop group that's doing tremendous things. And again, you can read articles from Melanie Morgan at WorldNet Daily, www.worldnetdaily.com. They have a columnist section on that website. You can click, and then you are in a smorgasbord of all things Melanie Morgan. It's a wonderful site. And I want to touch on just one other thing. You have a book that you co-authored with Catherine Moy called America Mourns.
Yes, we wrote the book to honor Casey Sheehan, Cindy Sheehan's son, and his best friend from his military training at Fort Hood in Texas, and his name was Justin Johnson. When they shipped out to Iraq, tragically, they were killed within 6 days of each other. The families, as you mentioned, went very different ways with their grief and their devastation. Cindy became the most famous anti-war protester since Jane Fonda. And then Joe Johnson, at age 46, got a spot in the Georgia National Guard, enlisted at age 46.
Wow.
And went over to Iraq to avenge his son's death and the sons of all and daughters of all Americans who have been killed. He was outraged. He was angry. He truly wanted to go kill terrorists who had killed and murdered his son and Casey Sheehan. He gets to Iraq and has this opportunity when his platoon ends up on a lonely, deserted road where they run into a group of men that they had caught with cell phones and other parts to make improvised explosive devices. And the old man, as they called him, had this moment where his troops, his fellow troop members, turned their back and said, "Old man, if you want to shoot him," which illegally, basically, we're not going to say anything. So Joe has this moment where he has to face what is right and the anger and the hatred that dwelled within him. It's a very moving book because we also follow Cindy Sheehan down to President Bush's ranch in Texas, where we personally, my organization, brought 4,000 people from around the country to counter this endless media barrage of Cindy Sheehan asking President Bush every day, "What noble cause did my son die for?"
Right.
And we strip away the veneer there of this grieving mom who's lonely and alone in a ditch, asking this president over and over to come meet with her, and show the organized media operation that was spending at least several $1 million to prop her up in air-conditioned comfort, to have masseuses come in and rub her back and her feet.
Wow.
And the catered food, the satellite trucks that cost hundreds of thousands of dollars, where she would sit down every night, night after night, doing interviews for local news channels all across the country to bring this message to America. It wasn't just a spontaneous uprising of grief or outpouring of grief. although I truly believe that Mrs. Sheehan felt grief-stricken and angry and betrayed, but she was also being used by these same organizations, Code Pink, MoveOn.org, George Soros, and even Senator John Kerry and his campaign.
Well, Melanie Morgan, we just really want to thank you for coming on the program.
More than anything, we need to let these troops know we haven't forgotten them. We know it's a very contentious election cycle right now. We know and understand that there are people who are deliberately attacking our troops. They don't support the troops, they don't support the mission, and they're going to do whatever is possible to make sure that they come home in defeat. And we are equally determined that they are going to come home in honor.